Got your mics on? We're ready to go? This meeting of the Anderson Township Board of Zoning Appeals is hereby called to order. This board was established pursuant to Section 519.13 of the Ohio Revised Code by the Anderson Township trustees to provide administrative relief to any person or entity adversely affected by the Anderson Township zoning resolution. Will the secretary please call the roll?
Mr. Johnson?
Here.
Mr. Lawrence?
Here.
Mr. Halpin?
Present.
Mr. Cyan?
Here.
Mr. Haber?
Here. Thank you for coming to this meeting of the Anderson Township Board of Zoning Appeals. Please be aware that this meeting is audio and videotaped and may be carried live on television. First, let me outline our procedures. And it's basically cut in two halves, where first we're going to have a section of public testimony, and then public testimony will be closed and we will deliberate amongst the board. So during the public testimony portion, a summary of the appeal is presented by the staff. Then the appellant will present its case or add any additional information beyond the staff's report. The board members may then ask questions of the appellant. After that, all persons supporting the appeal will be permitted to testify one at a time after being recognized by the chair. When those persons supporting the appeal are finished, those opposed to the appeal will then be permitted to testify and or ask questions of the board after being recognized by the chair. All persons wishing to testify, whether for or against an appeal, may only do so after being sworn in. When testifying, each person please come forward to the podium after being recognized, speak into the microphone, state your name, address, and any affiliation to the case. All persons testifying will be limited to 4 minutes unless a board member requests additional time. All testimony is given to the board only. No comments or questions are to be directed to the appellant or anyone else in the audience. The board will hear new non-repetitive evidence or questions. Should someone wish to show support of previous testimony, they may do so by following the testimony procedures and stating their support of previous testimony. When that ends, then we will close that public testimony portion of the meeting, and then we will deliberate amongst ourselves as to the merits of the case. Now, regarding all those people present who may give testimony this evening, I would like to swear you in. So if you would, please stand, raise your right hand, and swear or affirm. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? Thank you. Thank you so much. So are there any changes to tonight's agenda?
No.
Any changes?
No.
Then if there are no objections from the board, we will approve the agenda by unanimous consent. Next item on the agenda is the approval of our minutes from our January 5th meeting. Do I hear a motion? Were there any corrections? Well, then I would like a motion to approve those minutes, please.
So moved. Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the minutes. Would you please call the roll?
Mr. Johnson?
Abstain.
Mr. Lawrence?
Abstain.
Mr. Halpin?
Yes.
Mr. Cyan?
Aye.
Mr. Haber?
Aye. Minutes are approved. All right, now we're going to our first case, case number 5-2023 BZA, and I would request that staff provide their summary.
Thank you, Board. First, I want to introduce our co-op for this section of the year. Her name's Ashley Reynolds. So now at the end of the day, it's there. She'll be here for the next few months, hopefully attending and maybe presenting a case or two.
Cool. Welcome.
So the first case tonight is case 5. That's 5531 Clough Pike. Proposed is a short-term rental. The owners are Nicholas and Matthew Motts on behalf of Chicken Little 3 LLC. It is zoned A residence. So the history of the site is property was built upon on 1882, very well before our zoning was in Anderson Township. Primarily was agricultural use at the time. The current owners bought the property in 2007 and then registered with the Hamilton County for a residential rental. Currently, on January 3rd this year, Nick Motts came to staff asking how to obtain a zoning certificate for short-term rental, which is why we're here tonight, to kind of give you an overview of previous years. Last year, 2022, we had a total of 5 short-term rental conditional use cases. All 5 were approved. Here's a property map of the area. Excuse me. As you can see, the note down there at the bottom, property lines don't exactly match. This is not by air by staff. This is cages. Just for whatever reason, property lines are not accurate. But as you can see there's the main structure where the blue dot is, and then there's a few other structures on the property as well. This is an aerial to the south. It's very heavily wooded, a hill going up from the creek bed. Topography map. And then this is just a bit of a zoomed out view of the area to the south there. The property actually borders the city of Cincinnati. These are some photos that were provided by the applicant of the property. And these photos were taken by staff during our site visit. This is from Clough looking down the driveway, looking towards the front of the house. This is looking west along Clough Pike towards State Route 32. This is the rear of the property of the house. This is looking towards the creek there. You can see the heavily wooded hill going up towards the city. Relatively flat property until you get to the creek. This is looking east along, you can see Clough there up top. There's I assume that's a garage or / barn on the property. Looking southeast on the property, there are a few more structures there. This is another structure on the property. So considerations for conditional use, spirit and intent, no adverse effect, protection of public services. Staff did not find any issues with any of these conditions. They are compliant. This project is also consistent with the housing chapter of the 2022 Comprehensive Plan, which states Anderson Township is home to diverse housing options to meet changing demographics and market demands. Encourage the development and redevelopment of a variety of housing styles and densities in appropriate areas of the township. The property is designated for a single-family cluster residence use on the future land use map. Staff feels that the proposed short-term rental is consistent with the use classification. And going forward, these are the specific criteria for short-term rentals. And I'll go through these now. Parking shall not be permitted in the area defined as a front yard setback of the existing zone. Staff feels that this is compliant. The property predates zoning and does not meet setback requirements. The vehicular use shall be located and designed so as to minimize impact on the neighborhood. We believe this is compliant as well. Short-term rental contract states that there are two cars can be parked in the driveway, 2 cars can be parked in the garages with additional outdoor parking as well. Measures shall be taken to minimize the impact of potential nuisance such as noise, odor, vibration, and dust on adjacent properties. Staff believes that this is also compliant. There are a few contractual obligations that renters must agree to, including no parties, no smoking, no events, no drug use, etc. Also, there's a 3-night minimum to discourage any type of overnight party or weekend partying, as well as there's a security doorbell camera, which is triggered by motion and is also recordable. To the north of the property is township green space. There are a few immediate neighbors around the property. It's a very well spaced out property. The property is about 8 acres. There are no proposed changes to the existing structure as it is. There are no proposed changes to the lighting, sorry. And contact information for Anderson Township has been passed or will be passed to neighbors for emergency contact. No meals will be served at the location, and an emergency plan is provided with emergency information. The property is equipped with fire extinguishers, smoke detectors, and carbon monoxide detectors.
Let's go back to V real quickly.
Yes.
That, you mentioned that was regarding emergency. V is for grievances.
Correct, okay.
Okay,
Yes.
so we'll find out from the appellant
Okay.
about that being.
And these are just the list of the standards to be considered for short-term rentals, which we had just already have gone through.
Okay. Any questions for staff? I had a couple questions. The applicant has indicated to township staff that a survey of the property will be done, as Cages does not accurately reflect the property lines. Is that something that you believe could be a condition? Something that we should apply as a condition?
Not necessarily. He's aware of it, and I think the neighbor also has issues, so it seems to be that general vicinity.
Okay,
So it extends but beyond this property that are having issues with the property lines.
okay, cool. I just didn't know if that came from staff or appellant. Okay. Any other questions for staff? Would the appellant like to come to the podium here, identify yourself, your address, affiliation to the case, and provide any additional information?
Yeah, Nick Moats, my brother Matt Moats and I own the property currently. This is, to put it on the radar, a lot of people remember Clough Valley Maple Syrup. This was the location of Clough Valley Maple Syrup. So our father ran that business for years as a hobby business with his uncle, or with his cousin, which was our uncle. We've rented the property since our parents have passed away back in '07, and we've rented it traditionally. Obviously, you have no complaints over the years with that. Truthfully, we were kind of disgusted ourselves with the way the tenants kept the property on the exterior, especially, and it was always kind of in a state of kind of junkiness, in our opinion. And we didn't really have the power to clean it up until we went to this scenario of doing short-term rentals. So if you've driven past the property recently, you've seen it's looking a lot nicer than it has been for the last 15, 20 years. And we propose to keep it that way. Other than that, it's pretty straightforward. As a short-term rental, we've done, between Matt and I, we have 4 to 5 short-term rentals elsewhere that we manage. We've had really good luck with those properties. We keep our properties at a 3-day minimum just to refrain from parties and weekend getaways for people. We see this property being more of a family landmark for families in Anderson that have family coming in town for events, weddings, and probably a 5 to 7 day rental is going to be more typical for us on this property. So, any questions?
Any questions?
All right.
I did want to go back to that part about the survey.
Yeah, we're actually working with the Hafners, which are the abutting property. Justin's here tonight.
Okay.
Cages is way off on that, and we've known that for years. Burnside Surveying is actually resurveying and just putting pins in to fix Cages for us.
Okay,
So that should be fixed soon.
perfect. Anything else? Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else that would like to testify in support of the conditional use request? Anyone else want to testify in support? Is there anyone that wants to testify in objecting to the conditional use request? Anyone? Any other needs from the board?
Nope.
Comments, questions? Unless there's any objection, then we will close the public testimony portion of this case. And what that means is we're going to deliberate amongst ourselves, and there is no more comment, or unless we need to open it back up, of testimony from the public. Who'd like to start us off?
I will. I drive by this property every day. Actually love the house that sits back on the hill. My daughter always did as well. But I don't see a problem with this. This reminds me of the property, that small property on Hunley that we thought was a good location, doesn't have any immediate neighbors, it's surrounded by woods. Doesn't seem like it would be a problem at all. And I think it's a good idea.
I'm with him.
You're with him? Brian, anything?
Well, it meets all the general considerations. It's consistent with the adopted township plans, meets all the specific short-term rental criteria the township has set. I know we're sensitive to short-term rentals that are in neighborhoods, but this conditional use is not in a neighborhood and has few neighbors, and they're at some distance, so I would approve it.
Okay, thank you.
I'm in agreement. I guess I would just bring us back to your question about Section V and the grievance that you brought up with staff. I don't believe we heard anything on that.
So is there any need to time that? We understand it's a necessity, and its compliant contact information will be distributed to neighbors. Is there some, do we need to time that to?
That could be something you add in one of your conditions, if you'd like.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay, good. All right, do I hear a motion?
Motion.
Second.
So there's a motion to
Approve.
Approve.
approve a conditional use at this location, because these do run with the land. Any conditions other than, see, there wasn't one in staff's report. Do we want to say anything about contact information? Or that we will just trust that they will do that, which is fine.
I think given they have family members living all around the property.
And that they've
What's so funny?
they've managed the properties.
I'm happy to distribute information if there are a radius you want us to conform to, or X number of neighbors.
I'm going to open up the public hearing back up. Come up here if you would, sir. Unless we have any objection, get this testimony.
Yeah, I'm happy to distribute contact information to any number of neighbors if you want to just let us know how far we need to go or
Is there a
whatever.
guideline for how much?
We can give you a list of neighbors and their addresses within 200 feet of
Okay.
your
Yeah.
property lines.
Perfect. Isn't that what we
Happy to, yeah.
typically do for the notices as well?
Okay, thank you, sir. Okay, so that will be included. So, we have a motion to approve the conditional use request. We have a second. Is there any other discussion? Would you please call the roll?
Mr. Johnson?
Aye.
Mr. Lawrence.
Aye.
Mr. Halpin.
Aye.
Mr. Cyan.
Aye.
Mr. Haber.
Aye. Thank you. Okay, going on to case 6, 2023 BZA, a conditional use request for work at Cold Stream Country Club. And if staff could provide their summary.
Yes, this is case number 6. This is for 400 Asbury Road, also known as Coldstream Country Club. This is zoned AA, which is residential. Tonight we have several different items. A conditional use request for the construction of an accessory structure, the sand silo, and paving of an existing paved gravel parking lot per Article 5.4 I 14B and D of the Anderson Township zoning resolution. Also, there are 2 variances requested. One variance is to permit the accessory structure to be located in the front yard area, where accessory structure is only permitted in the rear yard per Article 5.2A7. And the second variance to permit an accessory structure and parking lot within 100 feet of a property line, and to permit the parking lot to be in the and to permit the parking lot to be in the front yard area. This is so essentially what's there now is for the parking lot. It's unpaved gravel, roughly 25 to 30 unmarked spots. The improvement plan is to pave and stripe with a capacity of roughly 41 vehicles, as well as add landscaping to screen parking lot and the silo from Asbury Road and surrounding properties. There is a relatively lengthy history with this property. Coldstream was established in 1960. There have been 7 requests before the BZA. Most recently, case 15/2022, which allowed the installation of additional platform tennis court accessory structure and an awning addition over an existing deck. So staff received a complaint August 2nd of 2022 of the silo being built in without zoning certificates. August 5th, 2022, staff visited the site and spoke with golf course staff to inspect the area and provide information on what needs to be done to fall into compliance, which would require a conditional use hearing, which here we are tonight, for the structures that had been installed, silo, and then for the future project of the improved parking lot and screening of the parking lot from the street. This particular map is zoomed in of the 3 parcels that of impact here. This is the aerial. The silo, if you see my mouse, is going to be located right about here. Topography map. Once again, silo, right about here. And this is a expanded view, kind of zoomed out view of the entire golf course. Once again, the silo would be right about here, with residential properties, homes around the border of the golf course. This is an aerial view. Once again, silo would be right about here. And the parking lot as well, sorry. These are site plans provided by the applicant of the improvements. As you can see on the left-hand side here, at the very top is the location of the silo. And then this would be the improved parking area. And this, once again, this is just going north. The silo would be right about here. This is the remainder of the property to be improved. This is the landscaping improvement plan. You can see landscaping buffer along the property line of Asbury and the maintenance facilities on both drawings. These are photos staff took while performing a site visit. This is current condition of the property. This is looking north on Asbury. This is the current condition of the parking lot. So conditional use findings, spirit and intent, the proposed use and development will comply with the spirit and intention of the zoning resolution and with district purposes by meeting the conditional use standards. There will be no adverse effects in the neighborhood. The proposed parking lot and existing silo would not have an adverse effect upon adjacent property or public health, safety, and general welfare. The applicant has indicated that the property's grounds maintenance building is used to store equipment, materials, work areas, and personnel. The sand silo was added to protect and facilitate use of specialized sand needed for the golf course. While the sand silo is very visible from Asbury Road, the dense landscaping screen, once matured, will help shield the structure, the maintenance building, and the parking lot improvement to the south. The parking lot improvement will pave the lot with asphalt, add landscaping islands, and stripe the lot, which currently is park gravel, which is not permitted for parking and must be a hard, dust-free surface throughout the township. And is also not striped, which is required. These improvements, while in the front yard area, would improve current circumstances and would not have an adverse effect on nearby residences, given the long distances to these residences, as well as clean up the area when you're driving along Asbury. We believe these are consistent with these quality of place chapter of the 2022 comprehensive plan, which states what a development looks like and how it is constructed are key components to the visual appeal of a community. The township has been committed to enhancing its visual landscape. This can contain a range of elements, including improving the quality of building design and materials, reducing the number of parking lots and their visibility from the streets. While this would not reduce the number of parking lots, it will be completing much-needed improvements to a current non-compliant parking lot, as well as screening its visibility from the street with dense landscaping. Staff believes that the existing sand silo and parking lot improvements are consistent with the use classification for country clubs and golf courses. Specific criteria, sites shall contain a minimum of 20 acres. This is compliant. There's approximately a total of 190 acres for the golf course. Any structure, except fences, parking area, or storage area shall be set back at least 100 feet from every property line. This is non-compliant. The sand silo is non-compliant. The country club sits on several parcels, all of which are country club golf course uses. The closest residential house is more than 100 feet from the property lines of these particular parcels. The current location of the sand silo is approximately 8 feet from Asbury Road right-of-way. Parking area is currently non-conforming. The existing parking areas on site have been in place prior to the conditional use standards for a country club / golf course. F, the parking shall not be permitted in the area defined as a front yard setback of the existing zone. This is non-conforming. The country club currently has multiple parking areas in the front yard setback throughout the property. The existing gravel lot has been at this location for over 30 years. G, you shall have direct access to a collector or arterial street compliant. These parcels are accessible by Asbury Road. H, the vehicular use shall be located and designed so as to minimize impact to the neighborhood. This is compliant. The addition of landscaping along Asbury Road will help screen vehicular use from surrounding properties. Also, the paving improvement to the existing gravel parking lot will reduce the amount of dust in the air and dust brought onto Asbury Road. N, the architectural design and site layout of the structure and location, nature, and height of any walls, screens, and fences are to be compatible with adjoining land uses and the residential character of the neighborhood. This is compliant. With over 190 acres, the current location of the parking lot and sand silo is what works best for the site, maintenance facilities, in order to be able to reach both sides of the golf course across Asbury Road. Though the sand silo is approximately 8 feet from the Asbury Road right-of-way, the appearance and color of the structure allowed to blend in with vegetation along Asbury Road. Landscaping shall be installed in accordance with one of the following buffers. Boundary buffer 20 feet with 2.8 canopy trees and 8 shrubs per 100 linear feet. That's compliant. The applicant has provided landscaping plan demonstration compliance with these requirements. Signage is compliant. There will be no new signage proposed or installed. All exterior lighting shall be directed away from adjacent residential properties. Compliant, no exterior changes to lighting proposed. Meals only served to country club members and guests. Why? The intensity of the particular use shall be evaluated with regard to the location, size, and configuration of the tract. Compliant. The existing use of the site has been a country club for approximately 60 years. The parking lot and sand silo are an extension of the current use of the property. Now we're going to be speaking on the variances requested for this sand silo. While the accessory structure is located in the front yard, the sand silo will be screened by dense landscaping along Asbury Road when it grows to maturity. It will also screen the maintenance buildings and the parking lot. Its current location is the only viable option because of the existing structures, site topography, and considering ease of use for maintenance crews. The essential character of the neighborhood would not be altered, and adjoining properties would not suffer a substantial detriment as a result of the variance. Cold Street Country Club predates Township's conditional use standards, and aspects of the property zoning are non-conforming. Landscape screening will aid in keeping with the character of the surrounding area, which it has much foliage and greenery. The variance would not adversely affect the delivery of government services. Continuing, the property owner's predicament cannot be feasibly obviated through some method other than a variance. While the structure could in theory be placed somewhere else on 190 acres, it would not be feasible to have it located elsewhere considering the current location of the maintenance building. The applicant stated that the sand silo needs to be accessible to grounds maintenance building to allow delivery and dispensing of the sand. Staff is of the opinion that the spirit and intent behind the zoning requirement would be observed by granting the variance. While the accessory structure is located in the front yard, there is no other feasible area where the sand silo can be built because of the existing conditions of the site. In addition, because the sand silo will be screened by dense landscaping when it grows to maturity and long distances to surrounding residences, the variance is not substantial and the essential character of the neighborhood would not be altered. Variance B is in regards to the parking lot. Staff also believes that the variance is not substantial. The site currently has a partially paved parking lot which can park 25 to 30 vehicles without marked spots. There's currently gravel in part of the parking lot which vehicles are not permitted to park on. It must be a hard, dust-free surface. Given that there is already a non-compliant parking lot here, the improvements of it being paved, adding landscaping islands, and a dense landscaping screen between the fence and the parking lot would bring the parking lot closer to compliance with the exception of it being less than 100 feet to the property line. Staff does not believe the essential character of the neighborhood would be altered. The adjoining properties would not suffer any substantial detriment as a result of the variance. The proposed parking lot improvements are for employee parking lot for the Coldstream Country Club and golf course, which predates current conditional use standards. The parking lot improvements will include the following: asphalt, 4 landscaping islands, and striping to allow approximately 41 vehicles to park in the area. The applicant is also proposing dense landscaping along the property line of Asbury. As stated in the previous variance findings, there is also over 1,000 feet to the nearest residence. So because of this, and that the parking lot will be screened, the proposed parking lot improvements will not alter the character of the neighborhood or area. The variance would not adversely affect the delivery of governmental services. The property owner's predicament could not be feasibly obviated through some method other than a variance, given that the location of the maintenance facilities and the existing location of the staff parking area make it the only viable option. Staff is of the opinion that the spirit and intent behind the zoning requirements would be observed by granting the variance. The improvements will bring the parking lot closer to compliance with the exception of it being less than 100 feet to the property line. While it is less than 100 feet to the property line, the dense landscaping and long distances to surrounding residences reason that the variance is not substantial and the essential character of the neighborhood would not be altered. And these are specific criteria standards for country clubs and golf courses. the spirit and intent, plans to, the proposed use and development shall comply with the spirit and intention of the zoning resolution and with purposes. No adverse effect. The proposed use and development shall not have an adverse effect upon the adjacent property or public health, safety, and general welfare. Protection of public services. The proposed use and development should respect to the greatest extent practicable, sorry, any natural, scenic, and historic features of significant public interest. Consistent with adopted plans, the proposed use and development shall be applicable, be harmonious, and in accordance with the general objective of the township's comprehensive plan or zoning resolution. These are, once again, these are the standards to be considered, the general standards.
Questions for staff?
No question.
Anything? Would the appellant or the appellant's representative please come to the podium, state your name, address, and affiliation, and any additional or information you'd like to present for this conditional use and variance requests.
My name is Randy Merrill. I'm Executive Vice President of McGill Smith Punching. We are the architects and engineers that put the package together for you. Chris did a great job of explaining it. I think our client, Coastal Country Club, wants to continue to enhance their facility and screen this use. I think they're improving the parking lot is an improvement, and the screening is a significant improvement. It's not only screening the parking lot and the silo, but also the maintenance building. This location is key to their operations because of the loading and unloading of not only the sand, but of the other bulk materials that they need to run their golf course. I don't know of anything else you would need to know, other than they're trying to make it better than it is.
Questions? Randy, what's your timetable for construction?
Good question. Assume
Yeah, in 2023.
this year.
This year?
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, asphalt plants are, what, shut down now?
Yeah, I mean, we still have to do all the final design work and all that, so it'll
Okay.
probably start sometime in midsummer,
Okay. Completed by when?
fall.
Fall?
It's not that big of a project.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Any other questions? Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Anyone else want to testify in support of the conditional use requests and variance requests? Please come to the podium. And if you would, please state your name, address.
I'm Kathy Nieberding, and I'm at 7645 Coldstream Drive, which is just down the street.
Okay?
And I just wondered if it was going to change any of the ditch. They've got a lot of foliage going in there, I guess, and I'm trying to figure out how they're getting all the space plus the plants and how that will affect the ditches and some of the drainage that's involved there.
Okay. Thank
So it's
you.
a question.
I'm going to refer back to the designers to answer that question, if any.
What was the question again?
So I'm just checking on the drainage. I'm wondering how you're going to put the trees and foliage and how that'll affect the drainage, if at all.
The foliage and drainage will fit within that. The drainage really becomes part of the hard surface, and that'll have to be detained. And that's more of an engineering solution. After this particular piece, we've got to engineer it to Hamilton County standards.
So are you taking the ditch out then? Pretty much? I mean, are you changing it, or are you putting it underneath the pavement that you're putting?
That's not been determined yet. We're not quite there yet.
Got it.
Again, all I can say is it'll be satisfying the Hamilton County standards.
Ma'am, are you talking about I'm just going to say the ditch adjacent to the
Yes.
roadway?
Yes.
And that space between the roadway and the fence
Right.
where the vegetation is proposed
Right.
to be located?
Right.
Are there any changes there? No.
Everything will be behind the fence.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what drainage is behind the fence that you're thinking?
Well, because it's gravel, which is pervious surface, we're putting hard surface in, which is impervious surface, so that'll have to be contained and controlled.
Got it. So that'll go into that ditch, right?
No, I don't know if we're going to ditch it. Again,
You
I don't
don't
know the
know
answer to
yet.
that question. It'll be designed to the Hamilton County standards.
Is there any way I can find out what you guys do for that purpose?
It's kind of public record once we get it done.
Yeah, but once it's done, you can't question it.
Well, again, all I can say is,
Right.
what we're doing will conform with Hamilton County standards. I don't know what else to
Mm-hmm,
say.
mm-hmm.
We could not build it without a permit. We can't get a permit without conforming to their criteria.
Got it.
Does
So
that
I
make
need to
sense?
talk to Hamilton County, okay.
Okay.
All right.
Are you, what's your concern with regard to, are you afraid the drainage is gonna come down towards your property?
Absolutely.
So your property is down,
I'm down on Coldstream, and I am affected gravely by the changes they have made.
and so the likelihood is that the drainage will probably go into a sewer.
And
I
it
would
goes
think.
down into, usually it goes down into the creeks that then go run by the rest of the properties that go downhill.
Down below you.
And those have been affected, and they continue to be. And it is a concern.
Because the river's down below you.
The river is down below us, but if you look at the streams that most of their water goes through, and a lot, Anderson area,
Yeah.
down the side roads and stuff, we have creeks that have lost probably a foot in depth because of the changes that have been made. And so, yes, I'm concerned that there's more water that comes down.
And the creeks won't be able to handle it.
Well, we get deeper creeks and we get deeper problems with the drainage.
Do you have to do any storm, Randy, if you come back up here, please? This is a good discussion. Do you have any stormwater detention requirements?
I don't know if you do because it's such a small area,
Yeah?
but I think there are many opportunities for us to direct the water into appropriate places. Whether it's, I don't think it's the ditch. I don't know that answer, ma'am. I mean,
Right, right.
we're
Yeah,
not
I
quite
understand.
there yet.
Yeah,
right?
no, I understand.
Yeah, so we can look at where it can be placed. I mean, there's a large pond right to the west, I guess.
The large pond goes into Coldstream Woods and Coldstream, and yes, I really
Again.
get affected by that.
Well, I mean, this area is such a small area when it comes to
The overall
stormwater
pattern.
detention. It's not a whole lot of volume, no matter what we would do. It's mostly hard surface now. It's only partially gravel. So we're gonna make it all hard surface, but we're gonna also need to contain it and control it, which should not affect you downstream, which is the whole reason for the criteria.
Yeah, I only put a question mark on it, that's all.
All right, that's,
Thank you.
anything else?
Thank you. Are we, anyone else want to testify in support? Anyone want to testify in opposition? Hearing none, then let's close the public testimony portion of this case, and we will discuss it amongst the board. Who'd like to start?
You need a motion to close public hearing.
No,
Unanimous?
no, we're close. Anybody want to start discussion?
I don't know that there's anything to really talk about other than what we've heard, quite frankly. And I don't see a problem with it. Actually, it'll be an improvement to the parking area, and I think that's a good thing. And it sounds like they're going to work on the water issue. And I agree that a portion of the parking lot's already hard surface, and so the part that's porous is not large. relatively speaking, so it shouldn't throw off any significantly additional waters. And so I see that as a good thing as far as what it'll do for the area.
Okay.
And just to add to that, they would be required to comply with current standards
For the
set by
Hamilton
the county
Yeah.
for that water.
The silo, I guess the silo's already up? Is that what that
It's
black,
there.
Mhm.
black thing is?
Green.
So, I guess my only question comes is, why there? Could they have put it on the other side of that building?
It looks like the vehicle's parked in the back there. That might be the reason why they put it there. Yeah, because all your vehicles are here. It's paved over there too. It will
Okay.
be paved.
So the vehicles can get to it easier there?
Yeah.
Okay.
What is the white building adjacent to the silo? Is that like a power? You know what I'm talking about? It's kind of like to the north of it.
You have a picture of that.
Yeah, it looks like a power station. Maybe.
Is that the one you're,
Yeah. So I guess what I'm looking at is, it's gonna be all new foliage through there, right?
Yeah.
Not what's there now.
No.
Because even, I mean, I don't know what you're gonna put there to hide that, because the wires are right there as well, so you can't put too big of a tree there. But at the same time, it's there, so there's not a lot you can do about it,
Yeah.
other than try to hide it as much as possible.
It depends on who owns that or controls that. If that's the power company, usually there's restrictions on putting foliage around those types of things.
yeah, so the landscaping is going to replace what's there on the other
To
side
make
of the
it-
fence.
To make it more full.
Mm-hmm.
So I can see where might hide the white building, but it's definitely not gonna hide the silo. I guess being green is a benefit.
Right.
I don't know. I guess the answer is dense foliage along the fence to hide it as much as possible.
Brian, anything?
Well, my initial thoughts were that I agreed with all the staff findings. Obviously, the silo could be placed somewhere that's where it's not in, doesn't need a variance, but it probably would not be as efficient or effective elsewhere. They put it there because that's where they needed it. And on B, the variance would get them into better compliance. Obviously, it does need more landscaping and more dense landscaping, so. I didn't think of it at the time, but I guess maybe it would be nice to have a mock-up of what it would look like with the vegetation landscaping that they're planning.
How do they fill the silo without opening back? I'm assuming the semi drives in behind that in the building, fills it, and then just pulls out. Is my guess. Is one of the reasons it's there.
Fill in the top and then comes out the bottom.
Right. But I mean, as far as filling that, I think that's, the reason it's there is that that's the easiest access to it.
Yeah.
any conforming spot would not be easily accessible.
Just to speak to the landscape plan, there is a landscape plan that details the plans and the schedule. Can you bring that up?
Is there any way you can enlarge that? Yeah. Oh, there you go.
So it's right there.
Oh, so the silo's right at the very top up there, isn't it? Right there,
Yeah.
okay, yeah. I mean, I think there's some definite site constraints regarding that silo and access to it for the purposes intended, and kind of putting it into another location seems to be challenging to me to make it work. I don't have any concerns really about the silo. The vegetation, I think, is a huge effort for everything screened along Asbury, whether it's the buildings, the silo, parking, or whatever. I applaud the appellant for doing that. I think my biggest concern is making sure that we're not exacerbating downstream problems.
And that you're referring to the water, the potential
Yeah,
negative
right.
water issues.
Right. I mean, they've got to satisfy Hamilton County concerns no matter what.
So my response to that would be that, is that even within our purview?
It's something they have to do anyway. So it may not be in our purview, but we're just being redundant at that point.
I suppose a question to ask the appellant as well is how much is the square footage of that additional blacktop they're going to be putting, or additional hard surface they're going to be putting, that might help, might or might not help.
Well, I think Mr. Merrill made that testimony before, is they haven't done those calculations yet. This is a very preliminary design, and they've got to refine it and make all the connections into wherever those storm sewers are going to go.
Yeah, for Hamilton County purposes, they would need that. I guess my question to staff is, do you have here what you need if it were approved today? Or is there something else that?
I would say tentatively, yes. It meets like the landscaping island ratio to the parking lot, as well as the screening meets the ratio of like trees and shrubs for that type of situation. So it meets those particular standards that we would approve it.
Okay.
I mean, I hear some questions, but I don't hear objections. And we haven't heard any objection about the silo. We have concerns about drainage. There's a lot that has to be done yet regarding design and engineering in order to get this approved and get a building permit through Hamilton County and MSD, thank you. So there could be conditions. I mean, that's why I asked the appellant of construction that they're going to get this done in this year.
Typically, give them the year, started within a year, completed within 2 years.
Yeah.
So that would meet that.
I mean, does anybody have any objections to this?
I do not.
Then can we get a motion? And I think, can we do this en masse, or do you want them separated? The conditional use and the variances? Can all be together.
I'll take a crack at it. Mr. Chair, in regards to case number 6-2023 BZA, I move that we approve the conditional use for construction of an accessory structure and paving of an existing partial paved / gravel parking lot. I also move that we approve the variances requested. First variance to permit the accessory structure sand silo to be located in the front yard, where accessory structures are only permitted in the rear yard. And second one, to permit an accessory structure and parking lot within 100 feet to the property line, and to permit the parking lot in the front yard area per articles cited by staff. Construction to be started within 1 year, completed within 2 years.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any other discussion?
Welcome any friendly amendments as well.
I don't think there are any.
I think Hamilton County.
Yeah. Would you please call the roll?
Mr. Johnson?
Aye.
Mr. Lawrence?
Aye.
Mr. Halpin?
Aye.
Mr. Cyan?
Aye.
Mr. Haber?
Aye. Thank you. I forgot to mention before, you're willing to stay for the next case, but staff will have your stuff. Just talk with them and they'll let you know when you're ready, when they're ready. Thank you. All right, case number 7/2023 BZA. If staff would go ahead and provide their summary for that as well.
This is case number 7. Property is located at 7247 Ayers Road, zoned AA. The applicants, Emily and Ryan Heitkamp. The request is for a 10 by 14 foot accessory structure to be located in the side yard, where accessory structures are only permitted in the rear yard of the Anderson Township zoning resolution. Site history: the house was constructed in 1987 and was purchased by the current property owners in 2012. BZA history: in November of 2012, the applicant applied for a zoning certificate for the accessory structure in the side yard area. The applicant was directed to the Board of Zoning Appeals application materials. There is no permit, BZA, or code enforcement on this property. This is the property here, property map. This is the aerial photo of the property. This is a very heavily wooded plot. Topography. And this is a more of a kind of a contextual, zoomed out view of the area with the property in question highlighted. These are provided site plans from the applicants.
I'm going to interrupt you. Would you go back one? So the area in the blue is the property.
I think they have 2 parcels,
They're
don't they?
correct. They're consolidated parcels. So these 2 properties are the same owners.
Same owners?
Correct, yes.
2 different parcels, same owners.
Same parcel number. If they were consolidated, they just look slightly different, because it's just part of what happens on Cagus when things get consolidated. So it kind of shows a lighter blue.
Okay.
On the one that's smaller, but
Okay.
they are consolidated.
But it's all one property. Thank you. Go ahead, please.
Sure. Yeah. This is provided site plan of the area, provided by the applicant. This is a picture of an example of what is proposed at the property. Once again, this is provided material from the applicant showing the topography of the land and proposed location. These are photos taken by staff during our site visit. This is the front of the property. This is a photo taken from the road looking up the driveway towards the structure of the house. So this is the rear yard view.
That's all rear yard.
Correct.
Okay.
This is a side yard of the property.
Okay, before you go, go back to the cages, if you would, please. Let's see here. Right there. So you got the house located there, and then everything to the left of the house, which is going steeply downhill, that is the rear yard.
Correct. So essentially from about here back is
Okay.
considered rear yard. This would be the side yard right here, and this would also be a side yard, and this would be the front.
Okay. Thank you.
Staff is of the opinion that the variance would not be substantial. While the accessory structure would be located in the side yard area, the shed would have a front yard setback of 65 feet and a side yard setback of 35 feet. This would be outside of the required front yard setback of 50 feet and required side yard setback of 25 feet. Due to the distance of the shed to Ayers Road, the foliage at the front of the property, and the natural incline of the property, the location of the shed is not substantial. Happened here, okay. The essential character of the neighborhood would not be altered, and adjoining properties would not suffer a substantial detriment as a result of the variance. The proposed structures in the side yard, however, due to the placement of the shed near the end of the driveway closest to the house, it would not be visible from Ayers Road, and because of foliage, it would be slightly visible to the neighbors to the south and west. The shed is proposed to be a similar aesthetic to the house and the neighborhood, and would not be out of place or out of character for the neighborhood. Nearby properties to the west and south also have sheds. This variance would not affect government services. The property owner's predicament could not be feasibly obviated through some method other than a variance. The steep topography of the property does not allow for an accessory structure to be built on any other portion of the property other than the side yard. The rear yard has a steep drop-off composed of trees and brush, leaving only enough room for a deck that is fenced in. Additionally, the lot is irregularly shaped with over 400 feet of frontage. Most of their acreage would be considered front yard area. Staff is of the opinion that the spirit and intent behind the zoning requirement would be observed by granting the variance. While the accessory structure is located in the side yard, there is no usable rear yard area where the shed can be built because of the steep topography. Also, due to the foliage in the front and distance from Ayers Road, the variance is not substantial, and the essential character of the neighborhood would not be altered. These are standards to be considered. That's it.
Questions for staff? None? Would the appellant please come to the podium, state your name, address, and add anything that you would like to add regarding your request?
Okay. Ryan Heitkamp, 7247 Ayers Road. As it was said, requesting to put a prefabricated shed on the property. The main reason, just in the background, is that we're buying a third car. We have a three-car garage. We have 2 young children, so we can't figure out where to put everything. And with the way the property is structured, we can't really go anywhere else due to the topography and the limited backyard. So that's where the background is. The shed itself, the design of it, well, it's going to be tucked into the woods, so it's going to be hard to see. But also, it's going to be very close to the shed of the neighbor's house, only I can't remember exactly the distance. But we want to try to tie it in with the design to be similar to the neighbor's shed, or to match the same black and white kind of that we have going on with the decking and the railing, so.
Okay. Any questions?
In your, I think you're the one who submitted the picture.
Yes.
You state that's an example, so you don't have a final plan just yet.
It's either going to be that one, or it's going to be one very similar. It's going to be exactly that same one, but we may have a front gable on it to get more natural light in it.
Okay.
The plan is to kind of put it on a 30 to 45 degree angle from the existing garage, so that like as part of like a frontage, and then build kind of a sitting area on the front of that as the double doors that come off. You see the windows that are on the side?
Yeah.
So you can come off of that and kind of incorporate that into the driveway, which ends up being the main play area for the house.
Okay. And the dimensions currently listed there, those would be? what-
Yeah, we want to go with the 10 by 14. Our goal is not to take down any trees, so maybe just a couple of honeysuckles, and then, as I said, tuck that in there, and then just put some landscaping around it to kind of mix with the current landscaping around the house.
Okay. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Any other questions? Thank you, sir.
All right, thank you.
Is there anybody that wants to speak in favor of the variance request? Anyone want to speak in support? Anyone want to speak in opposition? Then, if there's no objection by the board, we'll close the public testimony portion of the case and entertain discussion.
I'd say, given the topography of the lot, it's pretty much the only place you can put it. And I think it's far enough off the road, or to be tucked back. I don't think anyone will even see it.
I think staff did a good job in their report for the site reasons you just stated. John?
No, I'm okay with it. Good.
Brian?
Yeah, I'm okay. The topography is very limiting, but there's plenty of setback, not gonna be visible. So I would approve it.
Okay. Anything, Paul?
Concur.
Entertain a motion?
Motion.
I'll give it a shot. With the, a motion on the consideration of case 7-2023 BZA, a variance request to allow a 10 by 14 accessory structure located on the side yard area where accessory structures are only permitted in the rear yard. That it be, construction be started in 1 year, and that it be completed within 2.
Do we want to set any constraints, such as with the plans, or, plans not necessarily submitted, but they did, we do have site location, we do have dimensions.
That the shed be placed in the area that, based on the submitted documents by the applicant.
We usually say substantial conformance.
Substantial conformance.
With the drawings or documents.
Second the motion.
Second the motion. We've got a motion to approve the variance with a few conditions. It's been seconded. Any other discussion? Would you please call the roll?
Mr. Johnson?
Aye.
Mr. Lawrence?
Aye.
Mr. Halpin?
Aye?
Mr. Sion?
Aye.
Mr. Haber?
Aye. Again, get with staff and they'll let you know when the paperwork will be ready for you. Thank you. All right.
Journalization.
Get my agenda back out here. Are you guys ready to go for the journalization? journaling. Yep. Decision and journaling. Journaling. There is no such word.
Wow, got a few here.
Journaling.
Yeah,
What happened?
I don't know.
Guys are slacking.
We just couldn't make up our minds.
Sorry I was late. I might have been able to stick around for it. I gave you some of those, so you guys adjourn late. I'll come in and sign tomorrow. And I'll see you all next month.
You're off to,
Nagel for a school meeting.
Have fun.
yeah, good luck. See ya. Thanks for coming. So he came in November to apply for a zoning certificate, and that's when you said, won't happen?
Yep.
And so he,
He waited. He
Yeah.
took his time. I gave him the info, but he didn't end up applying.
yeah. Okay.
One first?
Sure.
Oh, we're going back.
These are from
Mr. Voorhees.
1 and 3 to
Oh, thank you.
This one, the next one were both reviewed by Gary, since they're both denials.
Okay, are you too familiar with this
I was here, but
for the case?
I was at the meeting.
Okay.
They'll have to abstain.
Yeah.
I was not.
So Brian, Will, Scott will be okay? Or he was here for the
He
meeting?
wasn't on the board.
They were on the board, so it would be a 3 votes.
3 votes. Okay,
So, let me know which way to scroll.
okay.
Just start scrolling. And on this particular case, you're essentially affirming staff's opinion or decision.
Okay. I'm good. Determines. So did he make an appeal?
He made an appeal of the violation letter. So,
That's why you're saying that there's 2 denials here. So as a result, the staff's interpretation is affirmed and the appeal for the property is denied. I thought we were voting on affirming staff's interpretation.
Yes, it's both.
It's both. Tell me that.
So, I guess part one is, A, you are affirming staff's interpretation, which I guess then causationally is the appeals denied. Because you're affirming our interpretation and not denying our interpretation. So like one causes the other.
Did he make an appeal?
yes.
The part of code enforcement is like sending a violation letter, which Chris sent.
Okay.
So he was appealing the violation letter.
Oh, gotcha.
that Chris sent.
He believes he was not in violation,
Yeah.
so he believes I was wrong for sending him that violation letter.
Right.
He's appealing that letter to you, to the board,
Saying that we're wrong.
and the board voted to
Affirm your decision.
affirm staff's decision to say he is in violation, therefore denying his appeal.
Okay. Okay, no, my brain's convoluted right now, so, okay,
It's a double
This
negative.
is definitely a,
right.
case that stands out, for sure. So, that's
Well, go back down a little bit, that last paragraph. Is that common?
Lost it.
Is that common verbiage? The last paragraph. Yeah.
That's something Gary added, so I won't question it.
No, I just haven't seen it. Okay.
And once again, this and the next case 3 resolutions were reviewed by Gary.
Right, okay.
So he did have some eyes on it.
Did he add that paragraph right there?
Yeah, he might have, he took away multiple sentences and then added them. So at this point,
Might have been
Okay.
as a result of that,
recognize it.
Okay,
Mount Carmel case.
good.
And that's interesting.
Okay, do I hear a motion to approve and journal?
With regards to case number 1-2023 BZA, a motion that we approve and journalize.
Second.
Motion and second, please call the roll.
Mr. Johnson,
Abstain.
Mr. Lawrence,
Abstain?
Mr. Halpin,
Aye.
Mr. Cyan,
Aye.
Mr. Haber.
Aye. Okay. Cool.
This is Handler Road case.
Yeah, yeah, that's right.
You guys denied that one, huh?
Oh,
This is the one with the small neighborhood. And
Yeah.
They wanted it.
and everybody was objecting to it, that lived around him.
Yeah.
I'm good.
And one person said something about sitting on the back deck and didn't want to look at that.
Yeah, there's a tool, being tools and there's a boat business.
Yeah. Needed a place to put it.
I'm good.
Good to hear.
Oop, there we go. Thank you. Okay. I think that paragraph's new.
Yes, it's common verbiage now.
Yeah. And I like it.
Gary reviewed these two, so we
Yeah.
put them in.
Okay, do we have a motion?
With regards to case number 3-2023 BZA, a motion that we approve and journalize.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Would you please call the roll?
Mr. Johnson,
Abstain.
Mr. Lawrence,
Abstain?
Mr. Halpin,
Aye.
Mr. Cyan,
Aye.
Mr. Haber.
Aye. Cool.
One of the objectives' name was Stein something, Stein, remember it was a,
If you want to know what happened with Pamela, they did end up applying for just a regular zoning certificate for an addition in the second,
Did they?
which is permitted. And then they also applied for an accessory structure in their backyard.
Well,
You need to store those tools
He
somewhere.
came in at, what, 8:05
The next
day?
morning, and I had to talk to them for like 2 hours.
thank you.
Yes.
This is case 5 from tonight.
wait, isn't today the second?
Mm-hmm.
We just heard this one.
Yes.
We're journalizing today.
I'm glad you're with us.
Takes me a while sometimes.
I'm good.
Good to hear.
Yeah. 1882. That is an old house. Didn't look like an 1882 construction.
It's some add-ons.
It had a lot of renovation to it.
I'm good.
Good here.
I'm good.
Same here.
Good.
I'm good.
F. So they are gonna be parking in the front yard, which we said is allowed because the property predates zoning. So does it really comply, or is there a better word? I would say
Well, it's like the
non-conform,
driveway.
I would say non-conforming, however, this property predates zoning and does not meet setback requirements. Does that make sense?
Does.
Or does anybody have, or am I making a mountain out of a molehill?
So you're gonna make this non-conforming?
Non-conforming, however,
Is it existing non-conforming? Or is it non-conforming?
It would be non-conforming, it's non-compliant would be.
If it's not compliant means it's not, it's
Illegal.
outside the zoning. It was happened while we had zoning. This, part of it was before zoning went into place, correct? Correct. So it's not conforming.
non-conforming, however. Or say something that, because regardless of it being non-conforming, we are saying parking is allowed in the front yard.
This property predates zoning and does not meet setback requirements,
Which would,
and as a result, parking is permitted.
Okay, however, this property predates zoning and does not meet front yard setback requirements. And then, what did you just say, Paul? Sorry.
Therefore, parking is permitted in the area defined as the front yard setback.
We'll just say in the front yard, in the front yard, permitted in the front yard. Front yard setback.
I would say non-conforming.
He's our wordsmith.
I think you need to have the does not meet front yard setbacks before the however. However, this property predates zoning, therefore parking is permitted in the front yard.
Makes sense.
Did you get that? Well, I like the comma there, before therefore.
You want
This property predates zoning, comma. What are you doing over there?
the ESP drivers
Okay.
higher.
You good, Brian?
Semicolon before however.
That is proper. Okay? I'm good. Okay, that whole part about that cages, the applicant has indicated that a survey of the property will be done. As Kate, do we need that?
What is the problem with that? That the cages line goes over the neighbor's house in the back?
And it, on the left-hand side, or I guess west, it cuts into part of the house. He has an accessory structure on the other side of that property line, but technically that is his property. But if it wasn't, that wouldn't be allowed.
Okay, because I deal with cages a lot, and I talk to Hamilton County, and they're like, don't rely on that, it's not even
Well,
close.
I was gonna say, the agency states on the website, do your own survey. essentially,
Exactly,
So
yeah.
it's not wholly accurate, by any means.
It's close enough for
It's a good-
government.
It's a reference.
Close enough for government. Well, I mean, we can leave it in, but it's not germane to any decision
It
or.
sounds like he's working on that anyway.
Yeah, yeah.
You might have an additional house to rent out.
I'm good. Maintain contact with the neighborhood residents, okay. 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 So the variance. So we're looking at a conditional use request for the short-term rental and then a variance for parking.
Just
Oh, well then the variance, should the conditional use, yeah, variance should be changed to conditional use. Okay.
Are we including number one?
I think that was part of staff's recommendations.
Yeah.
We had that conversation.
Yeah, but I,
Yeah.
so we're gonna continue to put those in there?
We didn't ask them about that.
Yeah.
Just
We-
assuming
we-
they were managing it.
Well, they said they managed a number of their properties, so it gave the impression that they would be managing this too.
Was this in the motion?
I don't think that was specifically in the motion.
Because we didn't talk about that.
No, it was
Number
only
one.
based on his testimony that they've got a number of them.
Right.
And staff's report, not that,
Yeah, staff report mentions it.
you know, mentioned that they were, the owners lived
Five properties,
five
yeah.
minutes away or something.
Because I would have voted no with number one in there.
Okay, we did not put that as part of the motion.
Number one,
Number one. You good with number two?
Yeah, 'cause
Okay. Motion to approve and journal?
So moved.
second,
Motion and a second. Would you please call the roll?
Mr. Johnson,
Aye.
Mr. Lawrence.
Aye.
Mr. Halpin.
aye.
Mr. Cyan.
Aye.
Mr. Haber.
Aye. Okay. Greg Whitaker.
I didn't realize Coldstream started in 1960.
You thought it was later?
No, I thought it was earlier. But I was a caddy at Cincinnati Country Club in 50, 58, 59, 60. And I don't remember them talking about Coldstream.
Because it was in the country
Yeah,
at that time.
that would have definitely, yeah. Anderson Township was,
Farmland.
that was where cabins were. Log cabins,
Still got one there?
yeah.
I'm good.
Good here.
In those days, we, 4th of July, we'd go to the Cincinnati Country Club, sit on at one of the fairways and watch them shoot off fireworks.
I've done that at Camargo.
Crazy, isn't it? Don't do it anymore.
Good here.
Mm-hmm.
On a side note, was there ever a variance for the power building that's right next to the silo? I was wondering that.
You know,
Without looking through the history.
that, I don't know if that was a power building. I think
Or
that was like
what-
like a,
It's like a
Junction.
storage, tool shed.
storage shed or something.
It-
And that, what we saw on the side was just the electrical in.
It looked like it had some serious power to it, like a
Yeah.
power station almost.
Yeah, it did, didn't it? That was a pretty big box on the side.
I think what they have, in it is like, air compressors for like tires, and they can see it down there.
That's probably why they need the big electric box. 'Cause it did look like a storage container, sorta, or container. I don't know if you remember.
I'm good.
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 Good here.
It's like 7:30 is that magic. Magic is just.
Okay.
Good.
Mm-hmm.
On N, it says 160 acres, and then above that, a few paragraphs up, it says 190. Is it? That's a lot of acreage right there.
I'm good.
Good here.
It says complaint, not compliant, on O.
Yeah, I got a spell check.
Spelled correctly.
No signage, no signage, no exterior changes to lighting. Wheels, good. Yep. Okay.
I imagine the trees that they're gonna put in along there to be the screen will probably be somewhat, not mature, but it'll be able to provide some level of screening almost immediately.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I would think.
Okay.
Look up in there, listed all the plans on.
Oh, yeah?
Okay. Now, if you would go back, where did you say that we approved the conditional use? That's up at the beginning. There's one conditional use, or was there more than one?
There's one and there's two variances.
And two so the conditional use, singular,
There's technically two, since it's a golf course and a country club. Everyone is specific. But
okay,
it says conditional uses and variances.
okay.
Do you have a country club without a golf course? Country club without a golf course?
We have that distinction in the zoning resolution there, so.
Really?
They must have it then, to have that distinction.
Yeah.
Maybe they have a ski range.
Golf course, maybe a public golf, I don't know.
Construction, okay, anything else there? Keep going down. Okay, now that paragraph is not, wait a minute. There it is, right there. That's new. Okay, I like that. Okay, how about a motion to approve and journal?
So moved.
Second?
Would you please call the roll?
Mr. Johnson?
Aye.
Mr. Lawrence?
Aye.
Mr. Halpin?
Aye.
Mr. Cyan?
Aye.
Mr. Haber?
Aye. Last one.
That's it?
That's it. Now we got the shed.
Yeah. Thought I Xed them all out. Got ahead of myself.
I'm good. I'm good. Yeah, number 3 is really important. Good.
on that.
Good on that. Yep. Motion?
So moved.
Second?
Well, we might want to be a little bit more specific on our motion.
Regards
Just-
7-2023 BZA motion that we approve and journalize.
There we go. Moved. Would you please call the roll?
Mr. Johnson?
Aye.
Mr. Lawrence?
Aye.
Mr. Halpin?
Aye.
Mr. Cyan?
Aye.
Mr. Haber?
Aye. Okay, I think we are complete.
Motion to adjourn?
Motion moved. Any ca-
Do I call roll again?
No.
Okay.
Unanimous consent.
Fantastic.
I'm thirsty. Anything for next month?
We have one came in today so far. Next Friday is, next Friday? Is that good? Next Friday? The deadline is next Friday, I believe.
Okay,
And one at least.
at least got one. All right, thank you, guys. Who's secretary? Isn't Jeff secretary? So I think it's just me right now.
All righty.